Good afternoon, North Point family, and welcome to our Thursday devotional. Today we will focus on the subject of contentment. I was inspired by the ladies who began a study on the subject matter of contentment yesterday. I watched Melissa Kruger's first lecture on contentment and was inspired for this Thursday devotional to study the subject of contentment. What better subject to study in this time where our hearts are restless and we are restless for things to get back to normal? The passage I want to look at for the subject matter of contentment is Philippians 4, verse 10 through 13. I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. You were indeed concerned for me, but you had no opportunity. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Now, there's two things here. We're not going to go in order, but these two things sort of go together that I want us to consider from this passage here this evening. And that is number one, Paul's contentment is found in God. And number two, Paul learns contentment in God. His contentment is found in God. The object, the source of his contentment is God. And he must learn this kind of contentment, not just this kind of contentment, what contentment truly is. Contentment, rest in God. And what Paul learns is that he is content in God when he faces loss. Did you notice that he's learned to be content in abundance, but he's also learned to be content in a time of loss? And he says something similar in 2 Corinthians 12, verse 10. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now, there's an important phrase there that Paul uses at the very beginning of that verse, for the sake of Christ. In other words, in the times of loss, in the times of weakness, in the times when the abundance of possessions are taken away from Paul, that illusion that we all have that we are autonomous, that we are our own gods, that we are masters of our own domain, those illusions are evaporated. And that is a time where we can learn where true contentment, where true rest is. It is in Christ and in Christ alone. It is in God and God alone. One of my favorite quotes of all time in church history is a quote from the great church father Augustine. Augustine said, "Our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee." Our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee. Augustine was a man before he became a Christian that searched all over literally the world. He traveled across seas to find the best philosophies, the best ideas. He sought physical and material pleasures to bring contentment to him. And finally, he came to an end of himself and saw that all those things were fleeting. And he came to this realization that his heart is restless until it finds its rest in God, in Christ, and in Christ alone. I want to suggest to you that you might be in a state of restlessness. I know I'm struggling with restlessness. I'm restless. I want to get back to normal living. But I think what Paul would teach us, and I think even what Augustine would teach us, is that this is a perfect time where that illusion of autonomy, that illusion of us being our own masters, being our own gods, when it's evaporated, it's a perfect time to learn contentment, to learn that where our true rest is found is in Christ and in Christ alone, because our hearts are restless until they find their rest in Him. I hope all of you are doing well, and God bless.